Hi there, this is Mr. Rizzo from the High School Counseling Office. I wanted to talk a little bit about the general structure of college. What do you need to do to earn an actual degree from college? You might think that, well, you go for 4 years, but there's a little bit more to it than that. You think of all of this kind of stuff, but that's all kind of the ancillary things. What really is going to be happening is you're going to be taking courses, obviously, every single semester, and just how is the whole thing kind of set up? All right, you might think that you know, but do you really? So that's what I'm going to dive into here. So you probably know for high school, well, every single year you're going to take a class and you're going to get a full credit for that full year class. That's kind of how it works. And then kind of the same thing with how classes meet. You meet every single day except for phys ed and maybe labs for your science classes, and usually you end up with at least 22 credits in order to graduate. But college is structured a heck of a lot differently. So a credit is not 1 year's worth of study in a given subject. A credit generally at most schools refers to 1 hour of class per week, and usually that's divided up into classes that are 3 credits for each class. So that means that you meet 3 times each week for 1 hour, or maybe it's twice a week for an hour and a half, and occasionally there are classes that are you meet once a week for 3 hours. So that's kind of how it's set up. Most classes at the college level are probably going to be about 3 credits. There are some classes that are 4 credits. Sometimes those are like science classes with a lab, and then there are other times there are 1 credit classes where they just want you to kind of get a taste of something. So it's only 1 hour per week, but that's roughly what the time commitment looks like. Most classes are going to be for 1 semester, and a semester is a half year. Usually it's a fall semester and then a spring semester. There are some schools that do what's called trimesters, so you'll take 3 different semesters worth of classes in a given year, but most schools are set up as 2 semesters per academic school year. All right, you need to be a full-time student if you are a full-time student if you take a minimum of 12 credits, but usually you need to have about 15 credits to stay on track for graduation. So that's going to break down to about 5 classes per year you'll be taking, 5 classes per semester you'll be taking, and that comes out to about 30 credits per year, and multiply that by 4 years roughly, and you're going to end up with about 120 credits in order to graduate. That's kind of what you're looking at. Now, the distribution of those credits, they've got to be in certain areas in New York State in order to earn a diploma. They've got to be, all of these right here. It's broken down. You know what you're dealing with here, all right? But in college, it's a little bit different. You're going to be taking most schools' core curriculum, and that'll be about a third. Major, your major is going to be about another third, and then electives would be about another third. So let's go into what the core curriculum looks like, all right? So again, every school is a little bit different, but most of them are going to have some sort of a core curriculum. Sometimes they call it a general education requirements, but they divide things into specific areas, and sometimes those specific areas have kind of fancy names. So instead of math, they might have critical thinking or something along those lines. And then you're going to get the chance to choose from a bunch of different options in each of those areas. And then sometimes they say, no, you have to take these 2 courses. So there are some schools also that have what's called an open curriculum, which just means that outside of the major classes, you can choose whatever it is that you want. And what students find to be the benefit of that is they get to design their own curriculum. Brown University is kind of famous for their open curriculum. Hamilton has an open curriculum. A lot of liberal arts schools, some liberal arts schools, are ones that would have an open curriculum. All right. And then the other side of that is schools that are really highly focused on one specific area might not have too much in the way of a core curriculum. So if maybe a school like like engineering for RIT, they're going to say, we want you to be really, really well prepared in this one area. So they're not going to overwhelm you with a ton of general education requirements. There's some certainly, but not a ton. All right. So just to give you an idea of what core curriculum might look like. So this is Bonaventure's, St. Bonaventure's website. And if you look at it right here, so they're going to require each of these courses, but then they're also going to say, all right, you need to take a couple of courses from one course from each one of these areas. And then, so for historical studies, you can click on it to see the courses. So you've got to take one of these. All right, so that's kind of how Bonaventure breaks it down. Brockport, kind of the same thing. Here they actually do name it into kind of names that you guys would recognize: natural science, social sciences. That's kind of how it's broken down. But you got to take 2 from each of these areas, and then additionally you've got to take something in here. Okay, so that's what it looks like as far as the core curriculum goes. And from there, your major. So everybody is going to have a major at a college. That's what you're essentially working towards. You don't need to declare your major early on. In fact, at a lot of schools, you can still go in as a freshman as an undecided student. You don't have to declare your major in most instances until maybe even as late as the end of your sophomore year. There are some schools that have what's called an undeclared option that offers kind of like an exploratory program where you'll be able to take a range of different courses to help you figure out what it is that you might want to do. I know Niagara has a nice exploratory program. So there's a lot of those that are out there, but there are some programs though that unless you start taking those requirements early on in your college experience, you might not be able to finish in 4 years. Some programs are absolutely jam-packed, and they might be kind of layered on top of each other. So what I mean by that is, you might need to take certain courses before you're able to take other courses in the major. Again, engineering or maybe say biology would be kind of good examples of that. All right. So if you were to try to find out what you would need to take at a given major, you could go to the college's website, and then you're going to want to look at either academics or programs, or sometimes they call it courses right here, something like that. But there's usually a tab on the front page of the website. So here we could go to academics, scroll down a little bit, and then academic programs is probably what you would click on. So if we wanted to see what academic programs are at Geneseo, all right, here's the whole list of them. And then say anthropology. We click on anthropology, and this is going to give you the description of what goes on in the department. But what you guys really want to know is, what do you have to take? All right, so right here, this is going to give you an idea of what you would have to take. So you got to take 3 courses that are foundational. You've got to take one of these classes, one of these, and then you're going to have to choose from one of these, and then it kind of goes on. And you get the idea of what it is that you need to take here in order to earn a degree in anthropology. All right, and then overall, you're going to be able to find most likely on a college's website the course offerings that give you kind of full descriptions for what every single course is. So it's really important not only to get just kind of the listing for what those courses are, all right, so to get the overview of what you're going to need to take, but then also kind of the descriptions. And sometimes they make it easy, and they have the links to the descriptions, hyperlinked to each course. So that's kind of what you're doing when you are investigating the majors. So, not every student is going to know what they want to major in, okay? And most students are actually going to change their major when they're at college. But I do think it's important for you guys to really kind of do a deep dive on every single college that you're seriously looking at. You want to know what the Common Core requirements are, and then you want to know what the major requirements are. So make sure that you really get into the weeds, all right? It's easy to get overwhelmed by, the picture of the beautiful sunset on the college's campus. And that's nice, all right? All schools have got, almost all of them have got at this point kind of nice drone footage of their campus, and it's really nice. But get into the weeds when it comes to researching the academics for each school, all right? Just real quickly, some schools, you can apply to that college and then get in, and you can major in whatever it is that you want to. But then there are other schools where you've got to declare kind of right up front if you want to maybe be like, say, an engineering major at UB. You've got to check that box, and the requirements to get into that major are maybe a little bit higher than it would be to get into somewhere else. So you would be applying directly to the major at that college. Again, other colleges, once you get into the college, you can major in whatever you like. All right. And then electives. So electives basically are whatever is left, all right? So you can really explore any other area that you would like to. A lot of students choose to do a minor with their elective credits, and a minor is basically just kind of like almost a little certificate that says, hey, you've got kind of like a concentration of courses and know a little bit about this other area. It's not quite at the level of major, obviously, but it's still kind of a nice nod to one particular area. All right. You could be a double major. Some students are able to do that. That can be really tough, though, to try and fit all of the classes together. And then kind of the last thing that I wanted to mention is that you could do, say, like a pre-law or a pre-med program if you wanted to go to medical school, and those are called pre-professional programs. But the thing is, those are not majors, and all it is really is just kind of a collection of classes that certifies that, hey, you're qualified to go into either medicine or law at the professional school level. All right, that's what they call medical school or law school. It would be a professional program. So it's almost somewhere between a minor and a major. Most schools don't allow you to actually major in those areas. You could be an English major and still be pre-med. So you would take all of your major courses, but instead of taking a bunch of electives that are maybe a little disjointed, you take all the classes that make up the pre-med kind of concentration. So I hope that makes sense. And the last thing I wanted to touch on is just kind of quickly the course numbering. So fairly self-explanatory, but it might be something that you don't quite realize when you're looking at the classes. Like you can see right here, History 201 or 251 or whatever it might be. That's the numbering system for these schools. Introductory courses are 100 level. 200s are intermediate, and then 300s would be kind of more towards later junior year or senior year at that college. So that's really about it. That's kind of the general structure of college. We want you to make sure that you are, like I said, really diving into the requirements when you're looking at these schools. And this is just kind of a quick info starter on to how to do that. All right. Again, any questions, as always, make an appointment, see your counselor. All right. Have a great day.